Hey everybody. Today I'm going to share with you a simple musical sketchpad that I created in SuperCollider. It's kind of just a toy, really. It's just for fun. I think it's a little too simple to be considered procedural drawing per se or anything like that. But all the same, I think it's a nice simple idea, and hopefully it can be expanded to form more complex ideas in the future. All right, so let's get started. Okay, we're going to start by declaring our variables. Point will be the position of the mouse on the sketchpad. Red, green, and blue values so we can change the color of the pen. A window and a view so we can actually see our sketchpad and draw on it. And I'm going to make a task which will incrementally change the values of red, green, and blue. And the incremental variables will be red change, green change, and blue change. Okay, now since this is a musical sketchpad, we're going to make a synth def. And this is going to be really simple. If you've ever made a synth def before, then there won't be any surprises here. Nothing, no funny business or anything. I'm going to use a variable duty saw, so I need a width argument. And length is a multiplier that'll change the length of the envelope. And envelope will just be a triangle shape, so it'll just go from 0 to 1, back to 0. Multiply the time array by length, and this will be a linear envelope. Like I said, we're going to use a variable duty saw. We don't care about phase, but we need the width. We're going to pan it according to our pan argument. Multiply it by the envelope and send it out. And that'll do it for our synth def. Okay, let's give red, green, and blue some default values. And we'll do the same for the incremental values. Pretty arbitrary. And these can be changed before you compile the code if you feel like it. And let's make our task as well. I really just want to increment the red, green, and blue values by their corresponding increments, and just wait for a short period of time and then do it again and again and again. So this task will be continuously running whenever the window is open. And I'm going to keep all the values of red, green, and blue within a range of 0 to 2. And I'm doing this for a specific reason, which I will get into later. But for now, just keep in mind that the values of red, green, and blue are going to be between 0 and 2. But those won't be the sort of the ultimate values. They're going to get changed once again down the line. But for now, this is what we'll do. And we can't forget our wait time, or else we will totally crash the language. Okay, so we'll wait for a 20th of a second. Alright, that's our task. Okay, so on to graphical user interface stuff. I'm going to make a window and I'm not gonna worry about the bounds because I'm just gonna make it full screen, but I don't want it to have a border. And I don't want the task to be running if the window is closed. So I'm going to make an onClose function here. So if the color task is playing, then just stop playing it. Okay. And so even though a window does give us a top view, in this case it would be an SC top view, I want to make my own view, and I'm going to use a user view because that's a really good option for a view if you want to draw on your window, or if you want to use custom objects, or it's a view for the user. And parent will be the window, and the bounds will just be the screen bounds because the window is full screen and I want the user to be able to draw on the entire view. A couple housekeeping things here. Don't clear on refresh. I'll clear it when I want to clear it. And we'll start with the background color of white because it's a sketch pad, and that makes sense. Okay. So now the real meat and potatoes of the sketch pad. I need to define some functions to be evaluated whenever the mouse is clicked or moved, or things like that. And so I'm going to start with a function which will clear the sketch pad upon receiving a right click from the mouse. All right, and mouse down action functions take some arguments: the view, the X position of the mouse, the Y position of the mouse, modifier keys, and button number. I think that's all we need, actually. So our point, whenever this is evaluated, we're just gonna, whenever the mouse is down, we'll set the point to be an array containing the X and Y coordinates. Alright, if button number equals 1, 0 is left click and 1 is right click. If this is the case, then set the draw function to be nil, so don't do anything. Clear the drawing and refresh, so we can see that the drawing has been cleared. Is that it? Yeah, I think that's it. That's all I need to do. So when you click the when you right click, you'll just clear the palette. Simple as that. All right, and we need a function to actually draw on the user view. So this is going to be a mouse move action function. All right, and all we need here is the view, the X position, and the Y position. Let me make some room here. Okay, and I'm also going to make a variable, the width of the pen width. I'll set it to 3. That's a good starting width for the pen. And now it's time to make our draw function. Oops, wow. My fingers were not in the right place. Okay, so first things first, let's take our constantly changing red, green, and blue values and use them to set the stroke color of the pen. And I'm going to use fold. because as you remember, the values are between 0 and 2, and they're constantly ramping up. So 0 all the way up to 2, going back to 0, up to 2, and so on and so forth. And I'm going to fold these values between 0 and 1. So when the value of red, green, or blue exceeds 1, it will start to go back down to 0. And once the value reaches 2, then it wraps back around to 0. So instead of ramping up from 0 to 2, now it's sort of bouncing back and forth linearly between 0 and 1. And we're going to do the same for all three. Okay. There's the color of our pen. This one's pretty simple. The width of the pen equals our variable pen width. And now we're just going to make a line from our current position, right? From it is it's an array x comma y, and we're going to use the as point method to convert it to a point, to the new value. After we've moved the mouse, the x and y position has changed, but our array has stayed the same. Of course, we're not done with the function yet. We'll get there. So next thing we have to do is set the current XY position to be the old position. Right? So as soon as we move the mouse, we draw a line, and then the end point becomes the starting point next time the mouse is moved. And then pen.stroke. So actually draw that line and refresh the window, and we still haven't made any sound, so we're going to make some sound. And the way we do that is with synth. Okay, and now here's where we can get kind of creative. Let's start with the frequency parameter. Okay, so let's take the x position and divide it by the x position in pixels, and divide it by window.screenBounds.width, which is the width of the screen in pixels. So this will give us a value between 0 and 1. And let's use lin. So we'll take this range from 0 to 1 and map it to 32 to 100. Put all these in parentheses. And we'll take this range from 32 to 100 and pretend it's a MIDI value, and we'll convert it to CPS, cycles per second. Okay, that's frequency. So basically this will just, as we move from left to right, we'll go from MIDI note 32 all the way to MIDI note 100 on the right side of the screen. Okay, width. Let's do something simple here. Same sort of thing here. Width is going to be controlled by the vertical position of the mouse. Let's see. Make sure there's no confusion here. Let's go from a really narrow width to 0.5. Okay, that seems okay. So when we're at the top of the screen, it'll be a really nasally sound. The width will be really narrow, and the width will be nice and even. I think it'll just be a triangle waveform when the mouse is at the bottom of the screen. Okay, so what are we going to do about pan? We can take the x position and we'll do a linear transformation. The range is going to be, x is just in pixels, so we're going to have to, our starting values, our starting minimum and maximum are 0 and window.screenbounds.width. And we're just going to map that to -1 to 1. So when the mouse is on the left hand side, we're panning left, and when the mouse is on the right hand side, we're panning right. And the reason I made a pen width variable is so that I could use the same variable in determining the length of each note. So when the pen is really thin, we'll just get a bunch of really short notes. Every time the mouse is moved, we're going to generate the synth, and depending on the length of the pen, the pen width is how short. It'll be a multiplier, basically. So the thicker the pen, the longer the note. Yeah. And that will end our mouse move action function. And when we, that's more or less it. We want to actually make sure we start our task and put the window in the front. And I think if I've done this right, that's all we need. So yeah, let's boot the server and let's see what we get. What did I do wrong? Okay, that's one problem. That needs to be a capital B. Let's try it again. Okay, cool. So on the left we have a low frequency, and as we go to the right, we're going from MIDI note 32 to 100. And we're also drawing a line every time the mouse is moved. I mean, it's actually happening many times, so you can actually get a sort of a fine resolution here if you move nice and slowly. You can hear the width of the waveform is changing. In the vertical position, the color is changing. You can see. Okay, yeah, and if I right-click, right, it clears the palette. Okay, and whenever you're in full screen, you can push escape, and it'll just pop right out of there. Cool. So that's the basic, that's the gist, really. But just to show you, we can get kind of funky with it. Let's do a different. Let's comment out the current frequency parameter values, and I mean, just for starters, we can just randomize it. Oops, exp rand is what's that supposed to say? Exp rand. Yeah, so that's pretty simple, and we can also randomize panning. Comment this out. Right, okay, so this will be a little different. We'll just hear random frequencies and random panning, but the width will remain the same. So top of the screen is narrow width, bottom of the screen is a wide width. Okay, and the last thing I want to do is just get, actually, I mean, that's still pretty straightforward. So I'm going to comment this out again and do one more frequency parameter definition. It's going to be similar to the first one, but a little bit different. Not width. Except at this point, we're going to round it to the nearest multiple of 5. And in MIDI notes, this is a perfect fourth. And then we're going to add either 0, 3, or 7. So every time the mouse moves, depending on the position, you'll have one of the 3 notes of a minor chord. But if you're moving the mouse constantly, it'll be constantly choosing, so you'll actually hear this minor chord. Oh, and we have to convert to cycles per second. Okay, well, let's just try this. I'm going to change something in a second. Yeah, so you can hear that minor chord, but let's just be weird here and make the pen width 150. So now all of these notes, these individual components of a minor chord, these little tiny granular notes really, are going to be very long. And let's make the background black. Okay, here's what it sounds like. Sounds like a really bad science fiction movie or something. Okay, I think that's enough of that. That's the musical sketchpad. Like I said, pretty simple, but you can sort of get funky with the values if you just sort of change this or that. And I'd encourage you to mess around with the synth-def parameters, or just make an entirely new synth-def yourself. It can be whatever you want. But here's one idea. So anyway, that's it. If you have any comments or questions, please put them on YouTube. And thanks for watching.